Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Cry With Me. I'm your host, Michael Boothby, and my second guest today is my good friend Stevie. What's your last name, Stevie?
Hudson.
Stevie Hudson. And Stevie, we met through mutual friends. I would say a community.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to just, before we get into it, kind of tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. Okay. Presently, I'm revisiting Richmond. I lived here for a while, kind of helped create a pretty solid community here that I see as family now. I live in Austin, Texas, where I'm starting to kind of expand my growth and network in a little bit bigger of a scene. And by a little, I mean a lot. I am a builder of physical things. I do woodworking. I build tiny houses and things of the sort. I build community. I build authentic relationships, and am currently kind of molding a lot of personal development work and inner work that I've done over the last few years, and learning how to take that, get it more structured and concise to be able to offer my gifts and service.
Awesome, man. Community. You spoke so much about community, and before we get into, our sadness and our pain, why have you chosen to create community?
I kind of see life like we're all on these boats and we're going through the ocean. There's sometimes some short destinations, but for the most part, we're like out in the middle of the ocean, kind of know where we're going, kind of not really, heading towards something, sometimes get lost. And I've been through moments where I felt lost and very alone. And I realized that for me personally, it just helped a lot to take all those little ships, have them surrounding one big ship, and so we can all kind of go on our adventures. But when there's like a pillar that is a big ship that's easy to find, we can move through life, and we kind of can get rid of that loneliness. We can kind of have each other's backs, pick each other's up. If one person doesn't catch enough fish that day, someone else did, and it just was a lot more fun. That party on the big boat heading to nowhere was a lot more fun than the one I was on alone.
Wow. The party on the big boat heading to nowhere. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That sounds like your life. Yeah, that's awesome, my Stevie. Yeah, that's cool. We're on a conversation, not to nowhere. We're going somewhere, I promise, guys, and we're gonna start right now. Are you ready, Stevie?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. All right, Stevie, what makes you cry, man?
I have a big blockage to crying.
Really?
I really don't cry that much. It's actually something I've been working on a lot in the last 6 months. It would take some pretty serious life events to make me cry. I can probably count on both hands the amount of times I cried in the last 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a follow-up question. That was when was the last time you cried?
The last time I cried was fairly recently because I've been working on crying more.
Okay, I love working on crying, conscious crying. I love that.
Yeah. Really what I've been doing is working on dissociating less. So
leaning in,
stopping, letting myself feel what I need to feel, and through that crying more, which has been really nice, really amazing.
Yeah.
And so the last time I was crying,
What was the last thing you cried about?
The last thing I cried about was just kind of like some grief of my last breakup. I was in a relationship for 10 years. I'm still friends with this person, and the last job I was doing, it's just like my passion work is I was building a truck camper, which really was a temple dedicated to our highest selves with one of my best friends. And every day we'd drop in and see what's present, and along the way we'd be setting intentions. We'd be writing on every piece of wood gratitudes, just offering a lot of space for the process to present what it wanted to us, and really letting it sit with us. So I was building with a current lover and my best friend, and my best friend was also friends with my former lover, and we used to work together, so I was in this scenario where we were all working on this thing together.
Right.
It was just like a lot for me to see like that my present is not my past, and the differences, and to like it just was reminding me so much of my past that was also beautiful and also filled with so much pain, like through that breakup, that I just started to feel weird. Like I was like, okay, I gotta step over to the side.
Yeah.
Kind of, just started to look around at the trees and be like, I'm not sure what's happening, but I feel weird. And then I was like, I feel kind of sad right now that like I'm not with that person anymore. That all the dreams we had together are like being recreated now.
Yeah.
I always felt like a survivor's guilt to like these dreams. And then my current lover came over and was like, hey, like what's going on?
Yeah.
And so we just kind of dropped in about me being sad, and she's a somatic therapist.
Oh, wow.
And so
really?
yeah, it helps a lot. And she's like,
that's amazing.
And previously I'd given her like how to be with me in those situations that would really help me.
Really?
And so she came over and we checked in and was like, and we all just sat down together and talked about it. And she asked me this beautiful, I was kind of just like being like, I feel kind of sad, like all these things, like I'm being reminded. I just had a lot of grief, of a nostalgia. And I wasn't crying yet, but then she just like talked to me about it, and she just asked me, she's like, will you share like a positive memory with me?
Yeah.
And I did, and I just started crying, just like to remember the good things, like felt so good, like that I don't have to like run away from those feelings, that I get to still enjoy them. And it was just really powerful for me to share like a really beautiful memory that I had with my ex, with my current lover. And yeah, I had a good little cry for a few minutes, and just got to sit there and be witnessed by my friends and like held in it, and it just felt really powerful, because I like by myself, because I'm not like overwhelmed with emotion much. I'm like often holding space for people for their emotions, and like it feels very nice to me, because I always feel like a part of it, and like it's like a part of my release too. And so it just felt very powerful to just be like seen and held and encouraged and like loved in that sensitive state.
Yeah, to be held. Yeah.
I mean, I'd say I've had a lot of good cries this last year and a half from the breakup, and then just like realizing that I stopped myself from feeling, and then letting myself feel. A couple of epic ones, honestly.
Really?
I think that right now it would be really hard to cry.
Yeah.
In this, but I
like
talking about it.
That's great.
It feels
well,
like
that's we're here to talk about it.
See.
We're just here. I'm just holding space right now for you to talk about it, because it's important that we have these conversations and we talk about our sadness. Especially, I find, social media. Everyone's on their phones, and it's like everyone is just like really trying to project this image that they're not only like okay, but great, right?
For sure.
Great. And it's like, I know I post very authentically, and I have a lot of friends who do as well.
I hope I cry in the next 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I really do.
You want to cry?
I would love to.
What else makes you cry, man? Beyond
so I had this. So a lot of my crying was from this breakup. Like,
so a person.
No.
Okay.
It was an experience.
The experience
it's not the
itself.
person. It was leaving.
Was it trauma?
I suppose, energy blockages, trauma, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of words. But recently it's been like, I was with someone basically my whole adult life, so a lot of it was like coming into myself, and all the emotions that come with like feeling like alone, and then making that a good thing. Feeling at home with myself.
Embracing your aloneness.
Yeah, and then other things that made me cry. I actually had this amazing breakthrough, because I've been like really tuning into my heart and noticing when I can't feel it, and doing a lot of work to be like, oh, this is what me dissociating feels like. Like, this is what it feels like to me be uncomfortable and want to run away. I'm feeling something that I still am learning, like sadness, but the nuances of it. I'm feeling these things, and instead of wanting to sit there with it, grab my phone, hit someone up, smoke some weed.
So would you dissociate like every time you felt something strongly?
I think not every time. I mean,
or like what is
like
exactly what is like what
Sure.
is the thing that most commonly when you look back is the thing like I can't be in this anymore.
Sadness for sure.
Okay.
And then what I realized is when I block out my sadness, I was blocking out my happiness too.
Right.
So blocking out anything just creates the barrier to block out emotion. So I was really blocking out anything overwhelming. And I realized recently, I kind of was doing like a somatic session, just like impromptu.
Okay.
And I realized that I stopped crying. I used to cry a lot, like any kid does.
Yeah.
I used to cry a lot. I used to cry when I was angry. I used to cry when I was sad.
When you were a kid.
Yeah, and I was the youngest of two brothers, and they're great brothers. I love them. And just growing up, like, in how I did, I just think some of the kind of classic masculine stuff happened to me where when I would cry, it was shamed. And when I would cry, it was like basically told, that's not okay here, that's not a lie. I would get called weak or, you know, probably more explicit terms for being a young, weak man.
Right.
And so I learned to, instead of like getting to express my frustration in whatever way I could, I learned to hold it in. Right. Or if I cried, I'd go be alone. I'd have to hide in it.
Hide your pain. Hide your pain. You're a man.
Yeah, so
you can't do that.
Exactly.
Right.
So I got good at that.
Right.
I got good at that, and I got good at showing the ones that were allowed. I got good at showing anger. I got good at being like, "Don't fuck with me."
Right.
Got good at being like, I have no weakness.
What was the cost of all of that?
The things that I'm recovering from now, like learning to feel again, learning to embrace my emotional side, learning to, so the cost would be. The biggest cost is getting blocked from joy, just joy. The biggest cost is the more I know myself from feeling the ones that were difficult, the more I unintentionally block the feelings that are easy.
Right.
Like I became so good at it, then all of a sudden everything was numb and dull. And anyone who's felt numb, I think that you just want to feel anything. So we do some extreme things to feel. You know, we'll ruin our relationships, we'll freak out at someone, we'll kind of poke the bear just so we can feel anything. And that's what I was doing. Or we just like almost accidentally numb ourselves more. Like I would smoke a lot of weed, and so I would be smoking weed not to create, but just to like, you know, change, like just to feel or just to numb. So it just all kind of became this blanket of gray, and that shit sucked. That shit really sucked.
Yeah, man.
That shit really sucked.
I can relate to that. I mean, I don't have any brothers. I grew up with 3 sisters, but for me, I can really relate to like the numbing, because I am someone who from childhood up through college, I would say, which through like 23, numbed myself like with video games.
Yeah,
that was my thing. It's like when I was a child and things got really hard, whether it was like my family, my home life, or like just like school or stress, like I would just play video games.
Same.
Because in these games I could be someone, I could be somebody else, I could become this character, I could be a hero, I can get achievements, and I felt like I was making progress. Anytime in my life when I felt like I'm not making progress, I get really hard on myself.
Feel that.
And so, but I would numb out all the time, and it's like, and it really hampered my relationships when I was younger. Because when I did, I couldn't relate to not only women but to most people. I had a few best friends because we would also just like play a lot of video games and stuff. It wasn't until I discovered improvisational theater again in college that I like really started stepping back into my own as like my true self. And oh wow, I love performing, or I love talking to people, I love listening to people and telling stories, and like, because all I was doing was just playing games. I was like, oh, that's hard. Oh, game. You know, I was addicted.
Definitely. That's what for me, like in high school, I definitely played a lot of video games.
Really.
But I did always just like know that when I'm with friends and like there is like an authentic connection where we can really be ourselves and it's okay, I always felt better.
Yeah.
I always felt like more seen. You know, I've never cried in front of a friend, like one of my best friends. No. I have, but I've never cried and then it'd be a bad thing.
Okay,
right?
Yeah, which is how you know they're a best friend.
Yeah, like there's always that moment where life's overwhelming and the tears come, and you know you got a good friend when they're there for you, and then they don't leave after, and they just like are there in solidarity. They're there to, you know, be the sacred witness, even if they don't have this language or anything. Like it's an ancient thing to know, to be there for someone.
Be there. Hey, I feel you, man. Right, I'm there with you.
And that's why I'm getting into the work that I am now with coaching and just holding space, because that support is so beautiful, just to be someone's mirror and to be with them in such a vulnerable scenario and being like, this is what it's all about. You in this moment is perfect. This part of you that is so shamed, so told is not okay, is absolutely loved. And to me, like there's nothing more healing than like being in a vulnerable situation and being loved in it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I just want to tell us more about like you're this.
Yeah, I mean,
because I'm doing this right now because I think that holding space I think that community, holding space for people, like, right, to cry, to get vulnerable, to talk about dark shit that's happening, sad shit that's happening to you. We need spaces for that.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, we go out, every advertisement is selling us sex, is selling us like a good time, this and that. Every ad is like prying into our insecurities and just digging this disconnection even deeper. So like what the work you're doing, what I'm doing here, it's like, and I hope there's others out there that are doing this.
Definitely.
Because we need to feel.
Especially living in Austin, man. There's a
really?
lot.
Tell me more about that.
It's really a great city for all this. Like, you know, I came here and I hosted that men's group.
Yeah, that was wonderful, by the way.
Yeah, and I've been to some there, and like, I want to start a men's group, and just because I've been to some, like, you know, divine masculine kind of stuff too, and just learning more about it, seeing how important it is, because I feel like a lot of what men do, and what I've done, and people close to me have done, is, you know, we don't share with guys, and then we find like a woman, and then in that loving container, we feel good to share. But then we end up putting the burden of us onto them.
It's too much, yeah.
And what happens is we start to like replicate a mother-father role.
Really?
And it takes away from like the loving and romanticism, because we're then relying on them for these like nurturing. Whereas like there are some times where being with the guys and getting to share the masculine experience, and it's totally gender neutral. It's more just like masculine and feminine as like a duality to kind of help navigate it. Could be anyone. But to like be with people who you resonate with energetically in that way, and the sharing becomes so much different.
Right.
Like the sharing in a container when I'm with, like where I am now, you know, I'm living with 4 women, and it's like very different than when I'm with 4 guys.
Right.
And to see that and to see how different the space is.
Can you explain, how is the energy different? If you had to explain, because you grew up with 2 brothers.
Yeah.
What's the difference between growing up with your 2 brothers and living with 4 women at Crutchfield?
Yeah.
yeah, you got it. Just like, just to dive into this.
It's pretty nuanced too, and like I've been doing a lot of men's work in Austin because like what I was lacking here was like a brotherhood. Like I always had a sisterhood. Some of the differences are for me is that, you know, the women I'm with naturally hold space, so like. It's kind of easily brought out. It is more emotional or intuitive. It is like almost easier for like me to feel into this depth. Whereas with men, I often feel like the leader in that. And especially because I spent so much time in that field with women that I feel like for me, I end up being like a leader, being like, this is really important, and to stop and be there. I've heard some like analogies doing this like divine masculine and feminine work of like, you know, the feminine is like where all the depth is. It's like where you go in to like really feel. It's like really can be just endless depth of emotion and the like feeling everything very presently. And the masculine is more like wanting to kind of be on the surface, want to be in the sunshine, want to be like, look at all this, it's beautiful.
Look what I made.
Let's solve this. Let's get there.
Let's go. You have problems, I'm gonna solve them.
And it's all in both of us, and we're like next thing.
Right.
So when you're with a group of guys, you know, it's like
what's next? Yeah, we were like last night. We were like in front of the gas station. Oh, we got a piano. Gosh, we're rapping. Yeah, it's in the infomercial. Yeah.
Or it's like you go out and you go on a walk with guys, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're on a mission.
What's the mission?
Like, okay,
we'll get some beers. Let's go. We're gonna get some. We're gonna go. Oh, we're gonna go to the store. We're gonna talk to them. Then right.
And then so the beauty is in knowing, and both masculine and feminine are in all of us, I believe. And the beauty is learning whatever language works for you, to have them dance with each other, and to be in to be in whatever space when it serves the most. To not run away from the feminine, but to like give space for us so that we can like integrate all the parts of ourselves and know that they're all beautiful. And I think that there's so many differences in my actual life, but what I notice mostly is that if I'm with the guys in an intentional space, the experiences we share are often different. Most of the time, you're like, what kind of happens is like, you remove like this sexual energy that kind of subconsciously dictates how we're supposed to be. But when you're in a group of men, it's a lot less of, I want to look really good here.
No one's really trying to prove anything.
You're not trying to
there is that kind of like alpha masculinity, but like not the guys I hang out with. I don't like that energy.
I think a lot of it is being like, this is not a sexual space, so we're not trying to present ourselves to like win a sexual encounter.
We're just hanging.
And it's not that always happens with women, but there is like a difference when you're with the guys. Like, there'll be a lot more venting about our relationships with women or our personal love, and
there's space for
and dating, and just with the feminine, like we have more space to talk about our dilemmas that we have with the feminine. And then when we are with the feminine, it's almost like this. It's like it can come up, but it comes up differently. And I would
also say not just like around women, but I would just say in public. As a man, it's like. Right? It's kind of taboo to cry in public.
Yeah.
I've cried in public.
Yeah.
But like, right? Like to be a man crying in public, I think, is like, I don't know. I mean...
It's culturally shamed.
Sure. Yeah. Which is, again, why I'm doing this and why you're doing what you're doing. Because it's like space needs to be held for men and for women and collectively together to cry and talk about what bothers us, because if we don't, it's going to continue bothering us.
Yeah, what's hard for us.
Right. But if we talk about it might still bother us, but it doesn't have to. We can change. Mm-hmm. We can make the conscious choice to learn from our sadness, to learn from our pain, and from even those who've hurt us.
Yeah, and how to be there for each other, and how to honor it all. Like, honor the joy, honor the sadness, honor the pain, honor the love. And I really think there's so much power in getting to those spaces where we hold so much shame and pain, and then showing it, and then being held in it, and being like, that's what it's all about. We all have that. Because the more I learn, the more I feel like, Source like whispers me this secret that we're all the same.
We are.
Like, we think that our personal struggles are so unique, and they are. The names are unique. The event is unique. But the underlying pain, I find
it's all the same. It's like a template.
It's all the same.
Like, right? Like I work in content. And it's like everybody's live. Everybody's a character with different content. Everybody is really a unique expression of the universe. And at the same time, it's like
totally
the template is the same. The story is
one
the
thing
same.
We're not unique in is our suffering. We all suffer, and we all suffer in pretty unique ways. And a lot of it comes from like being put into a box, not being allowed to come out of it, and then getting shamed for it.
Not being seen, not being heard, and being told what to do.
Not being told
being controlled.
Perfect.
Right.
Not feeling love, like getting love taken from us, or like not knowing how.
We should encourage children to fail.
Definitely.
I think we talked about that on the last episode, but it's like, or it might have even just been with my friend Tom, or with some of us. I just remember we were talking about that, of like, why are we so hypercritical of children, and we expect perfection, we give grades, or you failed that, and you're shamed. You should be like, here's a project. Oh, you failed. Wonderful. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's go. Let's we got a lot of work to do. You're about to learn a lot, right? We cannot learn if we don't fail.
Yeah, I went to school and I studied entrepreneurship.
Really?
And the only lesson I got from it was try and keep failing. Fail. They're like, you're going to fail.
So much. I cried and failed so much in my life.
All right, I'm going to cry.
Are you going to cry?
I'm going to pop one out for y'all.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to pop one out for you all.
I don't know if I can, I love you guys.
Well, guys, thanks, Stevie. Thank you for coming on. Second episode of Cry With Me. Did you have a good time? What did you think?
I did. I think laughter and sorrow are very much intertwined. And I also heard this thing. I'll end on this.
Okay.
Because guys have a hard time crying. It's been kind of programmed not to. But notice when you're sad, you're gonna be peeing a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah. I don't know if it's true. It's something I was told. And I was in ceremony.
Who told you that?
I was in ceremony and we were talking about, like, you know, we have a hard time crying, but like guys pee way more than women. And I've definitely been in situations where I was processing so much. I could not stop peeing. I couldn't stop.
Guys, our tears are literally going into our pits.
Exactly. And it's all a purge. It's all a purge.
It is. It's liquid coming out of the body. It's all purge.
And I noticed the last time I was journeying with I love her, and she was crying, and I could not stop peeing. I was
really?
like, processing so much, but like I wasn't crying. I was just peeing and peeing and peeing. I was like, yeah, I think there's some truth to that. So I this is a personal experience. None of it's the truth. It's all opinion.
See, where can viewers, where can they find you online?
Yeah, I have a couple Instagrams. My personal one is Spacetime Stevie, and my business one for building is Wonder Rigs. I have a website, wonderrigs.fun and steviehudson.fun, because I think life's all about fun, enjoying it, and figuring out how to do that, and growth, and healing.
Me too, man. Me too. I love that. Well, Stevie, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, feel free to reach out, please.
Please do, guys. And thank you so much for watching the second episode of Cry With Me. I've been your host, Michael Boothby. And again, if you want to come on, cry with me. If you live in Richmond, you want to come on this couch and cry with me, I would love to have you. Please, seriously, DM me, shoot me an email, whatever, text me, call me, whatever. Hit me up. If you don't feel brave enough to come and cry yet, whatever. I hope watching this inspires you to have these hard conversations, or just they don't even have to be hard. It can be really easy to hold space for people. All you have to do is nothing. Literally, all you have to do is just listen compassionately, and don't try it. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to fix them, but just be there for them. And if you want to experience that, please come on my show. But please do this for your friends. Do this for your family. Do this for yourself. Please hold space for yourself. You are loved, and you are loved, and I love you. Thank you for watching.